Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating journey into something that sits right at the intersection of your well-being, your finances, and, well, the health of our planet. The Foreverbreathe Specification for building homes.
hmm
You shared some compelling material with us, a detailed YouTube video from Premium Homes and Info straight from the experts at Health-Based Building. And our goal today is to really get what makes this approach so significant.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to uncover exactly what the Foreverbreathe specification entails and why it might be particularly relevant to you, the learner, someone who appreciates gaining knowledge that's both, comprehensive and easy to grasp with those satisfying aha moments.
That's right. We've got this video explaining the Foreverbreathe building performance by Premium Homes. It kind of walks us through the different bits and the intended advantages of building this specific way.
Right.
Alongside that, the Health-Based Building website, they introduce themselves as health-based building material specialists and give us a closer look at some key materials like their Magnum board and Foreverbreathe paint.
Okay, let's dive in then. So according to this Premium Homes video, the construction industry is, facing a real challenge. It needs to find ways to lower costs, cut down its environmental impact, reduce energy use, all while making homes that are warm, sustainable, and actually healthy places to live. Sounds like a tough balancing act.
It really is. And the video suggests that current ways of doing things, often focusing just on more insulation and making things super airtight without maybe enough focus on build quality or the materials themselves, well, they've kind of unintentionally created some big problems.
Like what?
They point to things like mold growth, poor indoor air quality, and needing these really complex mechanical ventilation systems. Their argument is basically that this isn't truly healthy or sustainable for the long haul.
So if that's the problem they're painting, what's the core idea behind this Foreverbreathe solution? What are the main principles driving it?
The video calls the Foreverbreathe specification a proven, groundbreaking solution.
Hmm.
They really emphasize the proven part, like it's a practical, tested answer.
Okay.
The main principle seems to be a really strong commitment to sustainable development and, crucially, to human health.
Mm.
The whole point is building homes that minimize harm, both now and for future generations. They're sort of positioning it as a new standard for building that helps us and the environment.
That's a pretty compelling mission. So let's get into the nuts and bolts. What are the key materials that make up a Foreverbreathe home, and what does each one do according to that Premium Homes video? Maybe start from the ground up, the foundation.
Sure. They explain the foundation can be either concrete or sustainable timber. The choice depends on the home's design and location,
Right.
But they do emphasize sustainable timber framing as being strong and eco-friendly. Then, a really essential material they talk a lot about is Magnum board. It's not just used in one spot. It acts as a rigid air barrier, the inside wall lining, and even a layer in the flooring. The goal is to create an indoor environment that handles air and moisture, really specifically being both airtight and breathable.
Breathable and airtight. Okay, that sounds interesting. Like a key difference right there.
Yeah.
Managing airflow, not just stopping it cold. The health-based building website also mentions Magnum board quite a bit, doesn't it? What else did they say?
Exactly. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's all about smart moisture management, The website lists different thicknesses, like a 9mm one for walls and ceilings, another 9mm type specifically as a rigid air barrier, one for backing tiles in wet areas, bathrooms, and such, and even an 18mm version for structural flooring underlayment. This variety suggests it's engineered for different jobs within the building. Could simplify construction, maybe. Ensure consistent performance everywhere. That's a win for builders and ultimately the homeowner.
Okay, so Magnum board forms this critical multifunctional layer. What's next in building up the walls, according to the video?
They mention the exterior cladding the outside skin of the house. That can be put on either directly or with a cavity behind it, depending on the design and the look you want.
Okay.
After that, they talk about insulation, and this is where they specifically bring in sheep's wool insulation. They explain this choice is really important for achieving what they call exothermic performance. That's apparently key to efficiently controlling temperature and moisture inside the house.
Sheep's wool insulation. That's definitely different from the usual stuff. Why wool? And can you break down this exothermic performance thing a bit more?
Well, using sheep's wool likely fits with their sustainability goals. It's natural, renewable, and a decent insulator already. Now, exothermic performance, that's the really interesting bit. Think of it like this. The wool isn't just trapping air like standard insulation. It's actively interacting with the moisture in the air. Yeah, in a way that either generates a tiny bit of warmth or helps hold on to coolness, depending on the season. It's a dynamic process driven by the material itself, not just passive resistance.
Okay, let's dig into that. How does it work in practice? Say in winter. What happens inside those walls then, based on the video?
In winter, you often have more humidity inside, right? Cooking, breathing, showers.
Yeah.
So that moisture naturally moves into the sheep's wool insulation. This process, they explain, actually releases a small amount of heat. That's the exothermic reaction.
Ah, okay.
This gentle heat then helps turn the moisture into vapor, which is then passively ventilated away through the breathable structure. The claimed benefit. Less need for your furnace or heat pump to run constantly, so lower energy bills, while also keeping the home warm and, importantly, dry. So the insight isn't just use natural stuff. It's about using its specific properties for a self-regulating system.
That is fascinating. The house almost breathing and generating a bit of his own heat just by managing moisture. What about summer then? How does this exothermic thing help keep it cool?
In summer, it works kind of in reverse, or at least differently. The exothermic performance helps the wool hold onto moisture within its fibers for longer before it evaporates.
Okay.
This retained moisture then acts like a buffer, helping to keep the home cooler without relying so heavily on air conditioning. Again, the goal is potential energy savings. It's about moderating temperature using the natural physics of the materials.
So it's designed for year-round comfort and efficiency, passively handling both temperature and moisture. What other bits and pieces are essential to the Foreverbreathe specification, according to the video?
They mention another layer of Magnum board for the interior walls and ceilings, which they say boosts the airtightness even more. And then crucially, they talk about using vapor-permeable paint on the inside surfaces.
Vapor-permeable paint.
Yeah. The health-based building website specifically features their Foreverbreathe paint. They have interior and oil-based types. This indicates it's a really key part of the system. The idea is this special paint lets water vapor move through the walls continuously, working with the other breathable materials to stop moisture getting trapped inside the wall cavity.
Gotcha. And what about mechanical systems? Heating, cooling? They mentioned a heat pump briefly.
Yes, they specify including a 6.7 kilowatt heat pump, set to maintain a steady 21 degrees Celsius. They reckon that's usually enough for an average-sized home to stay comfortable, around maybe 19.1 degrees Celsius year-round.
Okay.
They also point out this helps keep the air pressure inside slightly higher than outside.
Right. And ventilation, it sounds mostly passive, but any more details on how that works?
The video explains the system is designed to passively vent moisture away from the structure itself, aiming for average indoor humidity below 45%. Well, they do say you still need localized mechanical ventilation, like extractor fans in bathrooms, laundries, kitchens, for those high moisture spots.
Makes sense.
But yeah, the general moisture management in the main living areas is meant to be continuous and passive, part of the building fabric itself.
This all sounds very clever, very engineered in theory, but how do we know it actually works, like they say? The video mentioned validation and testing, right?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The video really stresses that health-based building puts significant resources, time, expertise, money into validating the Foreverbreathe spec.
How?
They actually built a full-scale test facility down in Christchurch, New Zealand. They explain this facility gathers real-time performance data, tracking how these homes behave under different conditions. The key message is, this isn't just theory. They present it as proven, backed by actual data from a real-world test setup.
Okay, data is good. And based on this testing and the whole system design, what are the main benefits Premium Homes claims for homes built this way?
They list quite a few. First, they say it simplifies the actual construction process. Second, they claim it hits all the key sustainable development goals: energy efficiency, affordability, human health, environmental protection.
That's a big claim.
It is. They also emphasize potentially much lower running and maintenance costs for the homeowner, consistent performance no matter the season or where it's built, and maybe the most appealing part, they describe these homes as creating living environments that actively support and enhance your well-being.
Those are definitely strong claims. But let's pivot slightly to something I know will catch your ear, the financial side. The video mentions lower running costs, which is great for any homeowner. But there was another angle that really jumped out.
Yeah, the video touches on those ongoing savings.
Right.
But I think the very fact that health-based building, the people who developed this whole spec, have partnered up with Premium Homes to actually build and deliver these certified Foreverbreathe homes across New Zealand, that says a lot, doesn't it? It suggests it's viable in the real world. There's market acceptance.
Absolutely. It implies a certain demand and perceived value.
For sure.
And here's where it gets really concrete, a tangible example of that value. We found this A quite striking data point. An 8-year-old Foreverbreathe home recently sold for a whopping 18% above its government rateable value. And this was in what was described as a stable, maybe even flat housing market.
Wow, 18% above RV in a flat market.
Mm.
That is remarkable. That strongly suggests buyers are seeing something extra there and are willing to pay a premium for it.
Right.
Whether it's the healthier environment aspect, the promise of lower bills, maybe perceived durability. Something is clearly driving that higher valuation beyond just square footage and location. This isn't just about saving a bit on electricity. It points towards a potentially significant return on the initial investment.
It certainly makes it look like building this way isn't just a lifestyle choice about health and sustainability, but potentially a pretty smart long-term financial move too.
Mm.
And the fact that health-based building positions themselves as the go-to specialists for these materials in New Zealand, and they actively work with a builder like Premium Homes, it suggests a whole ecosystem growing around this approach, ensuring quality control, perhaps.
Exactly. It elevates the Foreverbreathe specification from just a shopping list of materials and techniques to a potentially recognized, valuable standard. That partnership likely helps ensure the homes are built correctly to spec, which could definitely contribute to that higher resale value we were just talking about.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together for you, the learner. What are the main takeaways from our deep dive into the Foreverbreathe specification?
Well, the Foreverbreathe specification coming from health-based building and built by Premium Homes really seems to offer a more integrated, thoughtful way to build a house. It goes beyond just piling on insulation or sealing every crack. It focuses on smart material choices like Magnum board and that sheep's wool, combined with understanding how passive ventilation and this exothermic performance can work together. The aim is a home that's not just energy efficient and greener, but actually healthier and more comfortable to live in. And that test facility data gives some weight to those claims.
And while the potential for lower running costs is definitely attractive, I think that resale value example is the real eye-opener. Selling for 18% above rateable value suggests investing in a Foreverbreathe home could be a financially sound decision long-term, on top of the health and green benefits. It looks like the market might be starting to value the quality and performance this spec offers.
It really raises an interesting question, doesn't it, about how we should even assess the value of a home going forward. If a specific building method can demonstrably lead to healthier living, lower costs, and potentially higher resale, it kind of challenges the old ways of just looking at size and location, right? What really makes a home valuable in the 21st century?
Exactly. So as you think about how much our homes affect our health and the growing focus on sustainability, it really makes you wonder, how might building specs like Foreverbreathe change our expectations and the value we put on our homes in the future? What other questions does this spark for you about what makes a truly healthy, high-performing, and financially smart home? Definitely food for thought. Thanks for exploring this with us on The Deep Dive.